Come on, YouTube, you can do it. Come on, you can publish. Yes, you can. Are you publishing?
You're done.
Do it, YouTube. Do it. Come on. Go.
Give me.
Do it.
Give me now.
You're live. Okay, we're live. Great. Fantastic. All right. Hey, good afternoon, folks.
Oh, we're live, but are we really live?
No,
Is anyone ever truly live?
We're stuck in our own little flesh.
No one's ever
sucks.
really alive.
No one's ever really alive. Yeah. Well, we are looking back at our favorite topic, The Last Jedi. And this was a recommended video over and over. Someone kept super chatting it. I won't say who. But wow, we finally got around to it. And it is a good talk about a criticism of the video, of the movie, of Star Wars in general. So I think this would be a nice, not insane. It's not insane at all. We're not going to lose our minds over this. We're going to say, hey, wow, there's a fan, and he did his homework, and it's respectable. This is one of the first few times we actually have a good video to cover. I would say not, actually no, John's was actually kind of crazy, but he was a nice guy. Captain Midnight sounds like a nice guy, and he's critical, so I like that about this video. So thank you, Skids, for the recommendation. It is a good video. I watched a bit of it. I thought, hey, this is worthy of everyone involved. Anyone coming, whether you're a film buff, whether you're a Star Wars buff, or you just want to know stuff behind the scenes of why he looks at Star Wars this way. So this is the kind of guy I'd like to talk to if I had the opportunity. Hopefully, maybe I'll be able to reach out to him after we cover this, but who knows? So
we'll try not to insult him too much. We'll try not debunk his happiness.
No, I don't think we're going to do that. Maybe you might, because you're hardcore, Shiny.
We were trying to debunk AT-AT's chat's happiness all the time.
Well, that kind of,
can't help ourselves.
Yeah, you're right. We just sort of fall into that trap of, oh God, this is bad, and then we have to keep bashing it. So anyway, let's get going. Oh, is everyone in the watch together? Are we okay?
I'm in the watch together.
Alrighty.
I'm joining right now.
Okay, let's go.
Captain Midnight.
There's an infamous clip from the behind the scenes of the Phantom Menace documentary where George Lucas and his team sit down to watch a screening of the film for the first time. It doesn't go well, and you can tell everyone's a little uncomfortable with how the movie turned out.
I may have gone too far in a few places.
Sounds like a red letter
And we
media.
get the editor of the movie trying to deconstruct the problem with the film's climax.
In a space of about 90 seconds, you go from lamenting the death of, a hero to escape, to slightly comedic with Jar Jar, to Anakin returning with his little kind of tag. It's a lot, and it's a very short time.
Boggles the mind.
He was right about the Phantom Menace, and oddly enough, his critique could apply to sections of The Last Jedi too. But I'll get back to that in a minute. It's taken me a while to collect all my thoughts on Star Wars The Last Jedi, and after watching and rewatching it, I'm still having trouble separating how much I respect Rian Johnson's story choices in a lot of places, while having such a huge problem with the execution of those stories. If you had told me before...
What happened, Shiny?
My video just got took down.
Why?
What?
Oh, you're kidding me.
Why is it taken down?
Copyright.
Which
I
one?
thought I got over the Lower Decks reaction.
Oh, right. Yeah, new stuff is going to be pretty sensitive to...
but it was fine. It was fine for like a full day.
Oh, no, it's crazy.
I spent so long like actively trying to cut out any point which the YouTube algorithm was detecting and trying to get around it. And then it found it anyway and just cut it off.
They've screwed up lots of users, even from monetization. Like, it says it's fine for the first day, and then it says, nope, it was bad the entire day. We didn't tell you. It's like, what?
This is actually taking it down.
I know, that's horrible. They're getting really weird this past month.
Few copyright claim.
Can you re-edit your video to take out the content?
Yeah, but then I'll lose all the views because that was my best performing video as well. It's the spider milk scene. It'll spoil the milk.
There's
let me trim it out. or is it going to tell me to trim out the entire video? When I try the trim out section, it tries to trim out the entire video rather than just allowing me to trim out the specific part that it's detecting. But the best thing I can do right now, I suppose, is just trying to peel it.
Oh, good luck, man. I don't know if that's going to fly, but whoever created the video can pretty much take it down. But yeah, no, go for it. I hope it works out. Okay, we're going to rewind a bit and just go back to what he was talking about, The Last Jedi, because I think we just...
It's found 20 seconds. Just 20 seconds, and it's caught that.
Johnson's story choices in a lot of places, while having such a huge problem with the execution of those stories. If you had told me before seeing The Last Jedi that it would feature Finn, one of my favorite characters from The Force Awakens, and a new character going to a space casino, in a story that reveals the First Order and the Resistance get their weapons from the same people, I would have thought that sounded great. But then I watch it play out on screen and it's just not. Which is kind of a confusing feeling. Those who watched my video about what I wanted to see in The Last Jedi will probably notice that I got my wishes in a lot of ways. More Poe Dameron, putting Rey and Finn through the ringer, digging into Kylo Ren's motivations, and even questioning the very foundations of the Jedi Order. It had a lot of what I wanted, but it didn't always execute them in a way that I was completely happy with.
It's Princess Leia and Luke Skywalker! Now I know.
See, he's pretty critical, but he's also accepting that there's things that don't work very well of what he was expecting. So I like it so far.
Oh, the Force is with us.
Darth Vader.
Let's just dive straight in. Poe's storyline is one of the easiest examples of this. After Leia goes into a Force coma, Vice Admiral Holdo takes over and decides that retreat is the Resistance's best option. Poe, not knowing anything about the abandoned rebel base on Crate that they're going to go to, basically stages a coup and very nearly gets the entire Resistance killed. A lot of people online have pointed out that if Holdo had just told Poe the plan from the start, none of this would have happened. And that's true, but it also goes both ways. The Resistance is structured like a military organization, right? And not once, but twice, we see Poe disobey a direct order that in some cases got people killed. So even though it's easy to say they should have told Poe the plan, it's also worth noting that Poe shouldn't need to be told the plan. That's not really how a military works. And while being cocky and rebellious...
No, it is. No. So, not only is Poe not told the plan, no one is told the plan at all, and there is not a reason to keep the plan secret. And actively keeping the plan secret fucks up the plan.
I have heard people in the military say stuff like, well, people are on a need-to-know basis in the military, and being a captain, I presume, does not mean you need to know what's going on. But when you're on a ship and everyone's surviving on this one ship and other ships are getting destroyed, people are dying, and no one's telling you a status, no one's telling you what's going on, what we're trying to do, that would cause people to go nuts.
He's actively begging her for her to tell everyone the plan. You know, telling them that there's hope. But instead, she says, hope is like the sun. If you think it's gone when it goes down, you're not going to make it through the night or something like that. And that is incredibly stupid.
Yes, I just realized something. Don't they have, like, star charts?
Maps, sure.
Of where they are? Yeah. Wouldn't Poe be able to see... Wait, there's a planet on this chart that we are heading in the general direction for. What's the deal with that?
And the funny part is that once Poe actively knows the plan, he says, oh, this might work. So it makes the entire... everything fucking useless. It's unnecessary. If they to tell him the plan, he is the highest ranking officer other than Holdo.
I think
it's
so.
It's a need to know basis, but only I need to know.
Most of the people on the bridge were, I think everyone who was on the bridge was important is gone. So it's pretty much, as far as we know in the narrative, it's Poe and Holdo. So yeah, it's very iffy why this would happen. If there were good reasons, like we needed a better explanation from Holdo aside from a platitude or a poem about hope being like the sun. Like that's kind of insulting. If you're a leader of men and you're a military or you're up there in the ranks, you better have a darn good way of calming down your men and teaching them what's right and how to fall into line. I mean, that would be standard military stuff. You're a military leader. You know how to do your job. You're up in the ranks for a reason. Not, I'm going to tell you a poem about the sun, and you better just go away and stand by. Just stand by at your post and do nothing while everyone around us dies. Probably not the greatest form of confidence in your leader.
Rebellious is a fun part of his character. I just don't buy Leia and Holdo laughing it off at the end. I mean, he staged a coup and barely got a slap on the wrist. This entire plotline was meant to impart a lesson of humility to Poe, and that's actually not a bad starting point for a story. But in execution, all it managed to accomplish was making Poe, Leia, and Holdo look like they couldn't manage an Arby's, let alone a galactic resistance force. What made it even worse is that Leia treats Poe like a leader in the third act, a role that he hasn't earned even a little bit. I mean, he disobeyed orders and got people killed. Come on. And while I don't think that they need to...
Okay, another point is that everyone else could hear Leia's orders, and they chose to go anyway. So it was they all decided to disobey Leia's orders as well, and therefore they are volunteering themselves. What happens to them is their own fault, essentially. They are... well, not complicit. They're consenting to the danger.
And by third act, we're referring to Crate. So all the stuff that happens on Crate is disobeying Leia. Is that correct?
No, I think he's talking about because he gets the reason why he's demoted is because out of the blue, Leia says, "Oh no, call everyone back," and then Poe says, "Are you insane? This thing can wipe out an entire fleet." And then it goes to them attacking, and then all the bombs get destroyed because they're a terrible design. And then because everyone died, Leia demotes him, and that's what he's on about, getting people killed.
So that's that's the intro. That's the start of the movie. Mm-hmm. Okay. I thought he meant the third act, which is on Crate. So I don't know what he's getting at then. Okay, I'm a little confused.
Well, he's saying the reason why they don't know the plan, or Poe is not told the plan, it's because he doesn't need to know the plan, and he actively got people killed. But actively killing by disobeying orders.
But that doesn't make sense.
But everyone disobeyed the orders, and no one would have died if they actively used a ship design that wasn't shit.
Another issue is just the fact that he's in a no-win situation.
Mm-hmm. And even if they did retreat, look how slow those fucking bombers are. Do you really think they're going to escape from that fleet?
Oh, there's no way.
Destroying the dreadnought makes them actually everyone survive because the ship doesn't destroy them.
Okay, so the plan was supposedly agreed to by Leia at the beginning to bomb the ship, right? So Poe does his crazy maneuver, knocks out all the turret defenses, and Leia's like, "Oh, you did it! Now head back to the ship." You're like, "What did he do, Leia? Like, what was the point of that?" The whole point of that was to get the bombers near the dreadnought. So
yeah, just the surface cannons will do nothing. The main danger is the cannon on the bottom.
And why doesn't the ship have shields to stop you from just blowing up the cannons on the top?
So the implication is that Leia knows this, and she says, "Hey, you've done half the plan. Come back." It's like, wait, why? Why would we do that? What's the point? Like, there's no logic behind this supposed plan she agreed with if she did it in the first place. This is it's hard to discuss this film as if you know what the devil is going on, because it's not filled in for you. You don't know why Holdo's doing what she's doing. You don't know why Leia's doing what she's doing. Poe is just running away the entire time. And people call this character building or character development, where he decides, "Oh, this is clearly a distraction. We should use this to run away." It's like you've been running away the entire time. The entire movie is a slow-moving car chase. Whether you're on the planet or whether you're in space, it's the same thing. So I don't know where Poe is learning anything or growing as a character. He didn't have any blocks. He didn't have any faults. Maybe you could say he was impulsive, but that impulse saves the day. At the end of the day, he saved people. Then sacrifices were made to achieve that, which is what you do in war. That's a standard war story.
Honestly, the reason why he is chastised is because Leia is an idiot in that scene. Leia is really, really stupid.
It doesn't make sense with Leia how she behaves and how she reacts to the story, to the events of the movie, pretty much. Even with that scene with Holdo, oh yeah, I like him too. It's like, what? Why? Okay, like what's going on here? If you like him and trust him, why didn't you trust him with what's going on? It's a strange thing. I don't get what's going on. I don't know why they were written that way. Leia may as well not have been there the entire film.
Treat the Marvel Comics as gospel or anything, Poe Dameron's series is really, really good. And in it, he's nothing like the idiot that this movie makes him out to be. So that was disappointing.
Wait. So Poe was an idiot in the film?
In The Last Jedi, he's an idiot.
What does he do that's idiotic? Let me just think.
Mm-hmm.
He's an amazing pilot. He knocks out all the turrets.
I don't think he's an idiot. He's actually, the most intelligent one in that film.
He actually takes action.
The devil has come.
Oh, you're kidding.
The devil has arrived.
Hey, LiteratureDevil.
Bad news. My video just got taken down.
Oh, which one?
The Lower Decks one.
Oh, of course it did. I got 2 separate copyright claims on the stream we did about Lower Decks, so they're really going after us. You can't say anything bad about Lower Decks.
You just talk. Guys. You're purely just talking about it.
Yeah. It's still not good enough. I got 2 claims on that.
But
video,
we're not even showing anything, are we?
I think we went over a little bit of something. I think we went over some videos that had some clips from it in it, and then we critiqued it, which is fair use, but that's not good enough.
We're doing Major Grin videos. Was that it?
Maybe that was it.
Well, then
I have to look at the claims. But Lower Decks, the Lower Decks is the one that got taken down, or it hasn't been taken down, but I got claims on it.
They are really, really trying to shut down anyone that's not being fair. Like anyone who's critiquing them, because funnily enough, the videos, which are incredibly positive and have clips in there, they're completely fine.
And the ones that are positive, they're fine. The ones that are saying negative things, they're going the Naughty Dog route. If we find something negative, take it down.
I'll see if it's actually manually done or is it automatically done. Well, it's probably automatic.
Here's a Bogue with the super chat. Show any clips and they will claim it. Use MS Paint. Oh dear. Okay. What does that mean? MS Paint? You mean like take a screenshot and then post it?
Just draw what's happening and stuff. I'm not going through and drawing that entire bloody episode.
You can do stills. It works just fine if you use stills. I did it before.
No, apparently they're still doing that. It doesn't tell me if it's being done automatically or if it's being done manually.
It should be done manually if someone's claiming it. It would be like CBS, whatever, parent company doing it. If that were the case, that means Major Grin would also be getting flagged, but he already went through the process. So if his are still up, then yours should also be up. It just takes time to go through the process.
The fuckwits. Fucking fuckwits.
Well, you should be fine. It's really not that big a deal. And if it is, then you could always just edit the video, take out the 10 seconds.
But then I know this kind of sounds small, but that was my best performing video. Within 24 hours, I had 300 views, and that's the best I ever got so far. I'm starting.
You could always upload a second time, Shane. It's not a end of the world or end of your channel sort of deal. You'll be
but
just
it's not going to
fine.
be the same. It's not going to get the same views that it did before.
No. But you still want to have your content available. That's the point. Like people watch it, they say, "Oh, I remember that video. Where is it?" It's like, "Oh, well, I had to take it down and bring it back up because of this reason or another." So long as it's available, that's the main thing. Okay, let's get back. This is a pretty good analysis. I'm actually enjoying this.
What makes this kind of thing so frustrating is that there's also so much I like about these scenes. Holdo's sacrifice, where she silently cuts through all the First Order ships, is an incredible moment. And one of the best looking shots I've...
It was incredible. I too like Holdo's sacrifice. I enjoyed her sacrifice because she died in it, and she's never going to come back. I like that part of the movie.
I think it was incredible. Incredibly stupid and dumb and law-breaking.
Yeah, it was that too. But it killed off Holdo, so I guess it's almost an even trade.
It was visually
I would have
stimulating.
much preferred to give. I may be bad, but I feel like it would have been better if she got the Oberyn Martell treatment.
Oh, really?
Yes, it would have been much more satisfying.
What was that movie? The last Starfighter or something like that, where they had like a son rebelling against his dad, and he captured a spy, and they like had a laser shoot down on his head and then tortured him to death. Something like that. That'd be interesting. What if Holdo was a spy, and then they captured her? That'd be pretty interesting.
That's a really old film from the 80s. I remember watching that. Oh, man. Yeah, the 80s had some...
knockoff movie. Maybe a weird animated Star Wars knockoff movie that was a combination that like weird slave things and a robot that was the L337. She was just a sex bot as opposed to a crazy libertarian droid.
I'm not sure how to categorize L337. Yeah, it's hard to say what they were going with there. Whether it was a parody, I still can't figure it out. It just with this wild personality on a robot. Oh, here's Bogue. Thank you, sir. You can avoid the situation by doing MS Paint draw-ins, or you can avoid the whole situation and talk about something good like Fall of Cybertron. Okay. In the middle of his video, he's going to start talking about the Transformers. That's great. That's fantastic. Oh, yeah, I don't think he's going to do that, but I think that's the thing that Weekend Warrior does. He did this whole thing in MS Paint. That's what it looks like. And he just kept going with that motif. So... it does work with some people. I've never tried it myself. I'm stuck with using Adobe, so yeah.
Seen in a blockbuster since Fury Road, but getting there was a bumpy ride, and it's just one of the many places where the movie has the seed of a good idea. In this case, Poe learns to be a better, more thoughtful leader, but it just can't get out of its own way. I should say, though, that I really enjoy...
What was that? That was some 80s thing. What was going on there?
Droids. It was an animated series. Long time ago in a galaxy far, far away that we never ever talk about. Just like Ewoks. And the Star Wars Holiday Special.
I don't know. All these 80s reminiscences are pretty cool. I'd like to see that.
The Rey and Luke stuff. I know it's making a ton of fans really angry, but I thought that Luke's rebuke of the Jedi Order makes a lot of sense, and it was interesting to finally have some acknowledgement that the Jedi
I'd like to hear his argument on
this.
this.
The movies here, I don't care how great they were in cartoons or video games or whatever. In the films, yeah, they were a really flawed organization, and it's really interesting to see.
Yeah, but why would that mean it's time for the Jedi to end? Why? And I think it's this weird mentality that's going around, is that if something is not absolutely perfect in every single way possible, it must destroy it. The Jedi were flawed. Doesn't mean they were the bad guys. It definitely does not mean that they need to die now.
They were actively fighting against the bad guys.
Yeah, well, look what happens. I mean, if there was no Jedi Order, I think maybe the Emperor would have gotten to power a little earlier in another way, maybe, possibly
a hell of a lot easier.
Yeah, a whole lot easier, because these Jedi were opposing him, and they could sense him. So he had to do different things. He had to do a whole other plans to bring it around, so he can confuse them or to distract them.
He had to create an entire war just to distract the Jedi while doing other things.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, it's not about being perfect; it's about being flawed. That's what heroes are. They're not the perfect beings that, for some reason, a lot of mainstream creators think they are. They paint them as. No, Superman is not perfect. He's still a man. He can fail. He can make mistakes. A lot of heroes are. In fact, all heroes, all really well-written heroes anyway, can make mistakes, and this goes all the way back to the Greek times. I mean, read Odysseus.
They were the guardians of peace for thousands of years. They actively kept peace within the galaxy. So you have thousands of years of peace versus a 3-year war plus maybe about 20, 30 year tops of an empire.
But no, Shiny, they were imperfect, therefore they must be destroyed.
You've got like 33 years tops versus thousands of years of peace.
the idea again.
They're
I think the
flawed.
idea
They're
is
flawed.
that Captain Midnight appreciates the concepts that Ryan Johnson came up with. He did not like the execution, but in this case, he actually likes the idea of Luke saying these things.
I could see Luke Skywalker acknowledging the flaws of the Jedi, but not to the extreme he does in the
Yeah.
movie, where he says, "Oh, they need to die. They need to destroy all of the Jedi and all that that they built and everything."
But that's the thing with
It's
Luke.
time for the Jedi to die. Luke would not do that. He would take that. Even Mark Hamill said this, that Luke would not do that. He would, he might be disappointed or whatever, but he would take all the knowledge, he would take the feelings, and he would correct it. He would continue the Jedi Order in a way that it should have been. He thinks it should go.
Luke actually, at least if you go by like a lot of Legends material, he's actively critiquing the old order and actually doesn't believe in the monk-like ideas where you don't have any attachments, because he actively has a wife and kids.
In relation to the film, though, I think that the general idea was Luke is very reluctant to do anything. He's very reluctant to teach Rey. He's reluctant to burn the texts. He's reluctant to die, even though he says he's going to die. All of these things, he's just sort of like, I just want to be left alone and just go away. That's
He's some lazy hippie.
Yeah, he's almost like, I don't want to be the hero anymore, even though he knows everything. He knows why the world is the way it is.
He's perfectly fine to let the First Order take over the entire galaxy, and for all of his friends, and I would say his family, but he doesn't have any family left, to die, essentially. Well, no, I guess he has Leia. But yeah, he's happy to let all of his friends, all of his family just die.
Yeah,
That's
and
all
look at
he's
what he
happy to
does.
do.
He barely teaches Rey. All he pretty much teaches her is the Jedi Order are bad. I don't know what that breathing thing was, and sitting and breathing. I don't think that actually taught her anything aside from, holy crap, she's super strong. Let's run away again. And then he reluctantly tries to save everyone on Crate, and then somehow dies. It's just this silly lack of emotion, lack of interest in anything. And I don't know if that's a good thing in stories, to have this sort of character who's just not caring. Usually this is a flaw, like sort of the reluctance of Hamlet to go ahead with all his plans because he's about to kill his uncle in the chapel. He said, well, I can't do this. I'm not an assassin. This is not, I'm not doing this in divine right of kings or something. It's sort of that attitude, but it never really connects. We never really get to see why. He felt bad and scared and shameful. And you're like, that's it, Luke? That's all you feel? Because of that, you're not going to do anything? So it is very awkward and it feels out of place. But hey, Captain Midnight can like that part of the film, no problem. That's his opinion. It's fine.
I like how Luke Skywalker in the Last Jedi movie, he speaks as if he were taking on someone else's legacy. So he says, because I was Luke Skywalker, I thought I could fix him. Yeah, because you're a hero. That's why you thought you could fix him. But the terminology he uses, the dialogue he uses, it seems like he was trying to be a hero based off of the actions of his father, which is not true. He was basing his heroism, his optimism, and his ability to save his nephew off of his own legacy of being a hero and gaining the wisdom from Yoda and his own training. So it was very weird when he said that, because I was Luke Skywalker, as if he were going off a legacy of a family or bloodline rather than his own legacy he built with his own hands. So it's as if Ryan Johnson had not watched or any Star Wars at all. Hence, Jake Skywalker.
Yeah, well, that's one of the many reasons why.
But LiteratureDevil, Ryan Johnson said that Luke was being heroic by deciding to ignore the call of duty, just like he should have in Empire.
What?
He's heroic for being on the island.
You know, I would say there's no way that anyone who consider themselves a writer would say that, but I'm pretty sure Ryan Johnson would. Refusing the call to action and then just not going, that's not heroic. You don't go on your hero's journey by just staying home and sitting around and doing nothing. That's not heroic. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's a big subsection of people out there who would absolutely love the idea of being able to stay at home and tweet all day is seen as being heroic. I'm sorry, it isn't. Heroes do things. There's a reason why Luke was the hero, and people staying at home doing nothing were not seen as the hero of the galaxy.
So it's in the director and the Jedi. but it's also in the Hack Fraud Media's review of The Last Jedi. I can find the timestamp.
Taking a nap is heroic. Hey, we saw you. We needed you back there to put out that fire. Yes, Will, I took a nap instead. I saw your call. I took a nap instead because I am a hero who does nothing. And heroes, as Rian Johnson has taught me in Last Jedi, do nothing.
I want to imagine that just some random firefighter is like he's been called to, I don't know, save some people from a house fire, and he's like, it's time for the firefighters to end. It's like, what the fuck are you on about? Get over there, put out those fires.
The firefighter order was flawed once.
They failed to save some people once.
Yeah, but they saved like thousands of people, and they do the things that no one else can. Who else is going to run into fires on at the moment basis? Who else has the training and the equipment and the abilities and the lightsabers? I mean, axes to get into the houses and save people who are trapped in there. Who has the training?
To say the
who else is
fire
going to do that?
belongs to the firefighters is black.
Is hubris.
It's hubris.
Oh, it's so ridiculous what he says. Why they need to end? Because they were flawed once. Because they got a little corruption in there. Well, yeah, they were around for thousands of years. Maybe a little bit of corruption did seep in, but overall they did good. The good the Jedi had done far outweighed the bad that they did. What? Because they failed. Because they couldn't do all the things. Because they weren't as ideal as he once saw them as. Did you know that during the Empire's reign, the Jedi were seen as evil because it was in the Emperor's best interest to slander the Jedi the best they could? So no, there was no people growing up with good stories about the Jedi, at least not in general. You might get there if you have people who lived at that time and told stories about the Jedi that they personally told. But the propaganda outlet was Jedi were evil, and that was in the prequels too. The Jedi were the ones who tried to take over the Republic and tried to assert themselves as the rulers. So there was no redeeming legacy of the Jedi as far as the Emperor wanted to push, because he wanted the Jedi out of there because they were a problem. They were a severe problem to his plans. But the Luca is over there saying, "Oh, they were defeated once. They were outsmarted by Palpatine once." And they couldn't succeed at everything, and they were less than perfect. Therefore, it's time for the Jedi to end. Like, get out of here, Luke Skywalker. Go get the real Luke. What'd you do with the real Luke?
Here's Bogue. Police did bad once. Defund the police. Yeah, in regards to LiteratureDevil's analogy, it's like we're going to quit the firefighter service even though we know the entire city is controlled by arsonists, and you're just going to let them do whatever they want because you couldn't put out a fire once or something like that. It's a little silly, to put it lightly. Anywho, let's keep going.
Someone say that out loud in a Star Wars movie. I also thought that the humor in these scenes worked a lot better than it did in most places. Rey literally reaching out to touch the Force, and Luke tossing his lightsaber over his shoulder both landed pretty well. If the entire movie had been in...
With the little scene where the little shot where Rian Johnson is sitting next to Mark Hamill lying to his face, or the one where Rey gives him his lightsaber back?
It's like, I can see why someone finds the whole, Luke tickling Leia's fingers, not Leia, Rey's fingers funny, but it really doesn't belong in a Star Wars film.
It's really, really dumb. It's really, really dumb. And it's this whole thing. I don't know what it is, but I think a lot of these modern creators, I've said this before, they are bringing in tropes from anime into their writing because they like it because it's nice and quirky and funny or whatever. But they don't know how. So in the middle of doing something serious, if you watch an anime, like at least an average, all right written anime at the very least, this happens. So you have something happening, and then something funny will happen to break the tension. But however, the pattern goes, let's say they have something serious going on, a serious conversation or a serious exposition, and then once that part is done, it is you get something a little bit funny. Maybe somebody trips, and he's like, "What did you say? I wasn't listening." Something like that. Something a little funny, something a little quirky, and then it's at the end of it, like they're finished with that section. So we're going on to another section. But however, what they do in The Last Jedi is, okay, reach out your hand. I want to teach you about the Force. And then right in the middle of something serious happening, they just throw in a joke for no reason at all.
I think it does work in some level of levity when she actually is asked, what is the Force? And she says, well, it's, you lift rocks and stuff. So that's all she knows. Like, she knows nothing, which kind of is like, yeah, Rey doesn't know what the hell's going on. So a little joke like that, I think even Mike LaClassa actually enjoyed that one line of the whole film. That made him laugh, because it was ironic that she doesn't know what the hell she's doing, and here she's actually feeling something. She doesn't know what is that, an internal feeling? Is that a physical feeling? She doesn't know.
Yeah, how is she so powerful if she doesn't even understand anything about the Force?
That's the rest of the problem with Rey, is that she's ridiculously over the top, and she doesn't know why or how, and she's so lost, and all she wants to know is where the hell she fits in. And the story, we don't know. We have a Mary Sue running around.
Fit in.
Why don't you get a new haircut, Rey? I want to fit in.
Very nice. That would be so much more interesting of a character if they made her that way. I don't care if they made her they didn't go with the hero route. If they didn't go with a hero's journey route or a pseudo hero's journey route. I'm talking they went with she's crazy. They're going to explore this psychotic person route.
She's so crazy and so powerful. She has no idea what's going on, so she doesn't want to lose her mind, and she's struggling between insanity and discipline, and she's just like, "Oh, Finn, give me the damn spanner." Anyway,
that would be interesting. That would give her at least some
sort of internal problem that makes sense. We're like, oh, she's having problems with her identity, and she doesn't know what's going on, and all her powers are driving her nuts.
Imagine the scene with Rey where it's like she says something along the lines of, "I feel nothing except greed and disgust. I'm reaching a point of frenzy. I think my mask of sanity is about to slip."
Imagine her morning routine was that detailed. Like, we saw her on episode 7 when she was scavenging and eating and what have you. Imagine it was so detailed. Like, everything has to be just right. She'd be so specific. She'd be like a psychotic Hercule Poirot. Everything has to be lined up. Everything right edges. Nothing out of the ordinary.
But that would give her personality. That would give her personality traits. And that would make her interesting. Can't have that.
Oh. An actually interesting character to pay attention to, aside from just being nothing. Yeah. Oh, wow.
See how easy this is? It's not that hard to make a character at least a little bit intriguing, but they did nothing. It gave her an actor to play her, and then gave that actor a lightsaber, and that was kind of it.
I'm kind of curious what kind of stress she had to go through for the role. Like, what kind of discipline, what kind of training, I don't know, maybe research, look into others. There's nothing that I think Daisy Ridley had to do, aside from do some of the warm-ups, do some of the choreography, and speak with your British accent. You're good. Let's go for it. Compared to Finn, compared to Boyega, you have to, American accent, act scared a lot, run around. Imagine trying to get hurt, but don't get hurt. Those sorts of acting directions. But Rey, I don't know. I'm not an expert on these things. I'm not going to say. Anywho, thank you, EC Cons. Defund the Jedi. Yeah, I know. It's the ongoing joke of the year. Police bad. Get rid of them or defund them. Brilliant strategy there, America. It's going to work out very well for you.
What we should do is we should take down the police and replace them with some kind of patrol.
Police. Essentially what happened, we're going to defund the police and they're going to replace them with some kind of police force.
With more police. Better. They'll have mace and
we've already made
tasers.
this joke. We've already done it before.
Yeah. No guns, though. Okay, that's going to work wonderfully.
It's not about money. It's about sending a message.
Yeah, I don't really agree with guns. I don't even think my own police force should have guns, but I kind of think, considering what kind of country America is, police should definitely have guns.
Oh, yes,
a bunch of bullshit. Last Jedi, I sleep. Shiny talking about guns, I wake.
Well, I don't believe my own police force should have guns, but considering what kind of country America is, I believe that your police force should have guns.
What's the alternative to a gun?
A fucking taser and a baton.
At 20 feet?
What do you mean? There isn't much.
What if somebody's holding a knife to somebody's throat?
I think rubber bullets could be pretty effective.
You're 20 feet away, and they're going to cut the throat of the person.
We have some crazy people over here. We have some crazy.
This happened the other day. Yeah.
Dude,
Also,
Hannibal,
The reason why I'm saying
much too
Well-
complicated to get into, so I'm not going to bother.
I'm
right
not saying that your police force shouldn't have weapons. I'm saying ours shouldn't because ours doesn't require them.
That sounds like
they don't need,
that
they
sounds
don't
like
need them
British
right
people
now.
are more civilized than Americans, and Americans.
Yeah,
are
we
just a
don't
bunch
need them right now. The police force is perfectly fine not having them, and we don't have a problem with crime right now. At least
this
in
isn't a British versus American stream. I'm not going to get into it, but we can have that some other time. I just disagree.
Here's a Hogue. Guns are banned in MX, which I'm assuming is Mexico, not Mega Man
Mexico.
X.
the
Safest country in the world.
Just end it. You do realize that there is like armed response units which do kind of go to places when there is things like reports of knives and reports of actual weapons.
I mean, I just come from the perspective that I should be the one
in
that has
response. So if a knife is
I
actively,
believe in rifle. I support rifle.
if someone calls 999 and they say that someone's got a knife, they're holding it to this woman's throat, then the people who are going to come, they're not just some random fucking police officers with sticks. They're actually going to be police, like fully armed, body armor police.
Why not just have a guy walking around with a gun?
Because why does he need a gun?
No, that's not the question.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Because you just said that there needs to be a guy that responds with an armed response, but then he's a specific unit. It takes more time for him to get there. If the guy just is walking around the street, you have plainclothes officers.
Oh.
You know, if you have people walking around that have guns, then that means that at all times there's official servicemen. There are people that are sworn that have responsibilities and training to discharge firearms if they need to, and the discretion. So I believe in that, and I also believe that regular citizens should carry.
Well, I believe in that in America. I don't believe in that here. Then again, I've.
That's fine. I don't. That's just what I believe, and I think it counts for every country, from Afghanistan to Zimbabwe.
It very much depends on the actual culture you're living in and what country and where you live and all that shit.
It's a very European thing to think that everybody should be disarmed. I've noticed.
I'm not thinking everyone should be disarmed. I'm thinking, you shouldn't arm people when you don't need to give them guns.
That's how I feel about crime.
Okay, let's get back to the super chats here. Please say AJAB or all Jedis are bastards. Okay, I could say that. It's easier than saying your name, so I'll be happy to say that. I always screw up that name. And Mark in 3D, Brits have Marmite. Why would they need guns? Oh, that's...
Yeah, don't worry. More people die from Marmite than guns. Of course.
Oh, dear. I'm sure there's someone who enjoys Marmite over there, Shiny. They wouldn't just sell it for nothing.
I'm pretty sure the only reason anyone ever buys it is to kill themselves.
Oh.
Or to cause some kind of crime. You hold up a Marmite jar to someone in a store. That's as bad as holding a knife to someone. They're going to give you all the money instantly.
Toasty Danny, I understand that not all Europeans think that. I understand that. If I'm not going to get into like an hour-long conversation or tangent into gun control, all that I do know is that private arms and civilians were basically what allowed the Revolutionary War to exist. It's also stopped a lot of people from committing atrocities before when people can defend themselves.
Yeah, when you look at the stats for violent crimes in America, the ones with the was it open carry license? Has the lowest amount of crime because they know.
Yeah.
If you go into those areas, there's a big chance you're not going to do enough damage because someone's going to catch you.
Yeah, shale issue is the areas that have a lot of that open carry because you're assuming that everybody has a gun as opposed to an area where you assume nobody has a gun. Now, people have that idea obviously where it's like if we could ban all the guns, then nobody would need a gun. And I can.
Then you still have illegal guns, and the things actually committing crimes are illegal guns.
So if we get rid of all of them, then yeah, sure, nobody needs a gun. But as long as there are people that could potentially want to kill somebody else for gain, then I think that people should be able to defend themselves with up-to-date weaponry, whether that's laser, eye vision, or a handgun. I don't really care. I just draw the line at nuclear, biological, and chemical weapons.
Obviously, we should give every citizen a fucking nuke.
Yeah, no, you know what I mean though. But like, if a grandma wants to carry a Glock in her purse, I don't understand what the problem is.
That's one scary grandma. I would never disagree with her.
Exactly. Point proven.
That's because she's an American.
If I carry a gun around, no one disagrees with me.
What's the force equalizer for, a
Can of mace.
woman that doesn't work out very much? Well, it's a handgun.
But you know what the deterrent for handguns are?
Tanks.
I don't know.
Marmite is far more deadly than any weapon.
It will gum up the mechanism. But yeah. Anyway, that's my little diatribe. I'm not trying to be glib about it. If you want to that's the scenario.
Come on,
you can take it from the perspective of I'm an American, obviously. I'm trying to be faithful to that idea. I like the idea of
what works for one country isn't necessarily.
I like what I'm just saying is in a situation where somebody's trying to kill me or kill somebody else, I want the fastest possible time to react to that situation and defend myself or somebody else.
What works for some countries won't work for others. So the thing is about America. America is very big. So when called to someone in the middle of the city, or like call special unit to the middle of the city, or call a military unit into the middle of nowhere where there's an attack happening, it's going to be much different to calling someone in the UK where the police station's not going to be that far away. They could be there.
Ego dreamer. I'm going to talk about whatever I want to talk about. By the way, no, I just want to say that right now. Don't tell me what time to stop talking. That's up to Smud. Okay, shut up.
Hey,
anyway,
also be nice, Glib. Holy jeez.
To end it, what works for some countries?
No, I'm just kidding. But it's like, imagine if somebody was yelling to me, "Next subject" in my ear. I'm just trying to equalize it.
Well, I would ignore them.
We can absolutely move on. I said I wanted to move on. Anyway.
Okay, guys. Here's Bogue again. Shall not be infringed. Period. That's referring to the Second Amendment, I believe. Thank you, sir. And again, Mr. Gesugao, give everyone guns, make it legal to kill, crime equals 0%. Well, that's a very proactive American thing to say, sir. I think that would...
People don't kill people. Marmite kills people.
People with guns kill people. There you go. And
people that like The Last Jedi kill me.
Oh.
Rest in peace, Glib.
Well, this is actually a pretty good video. That's why we're changing topics so much. So it's we're like, yeah, this is good points, good ideas.
I'm not even sure how we got to guns.
Yeah. Don't worry.
I think it was probably my fault.
Don't worry.
I don't think so far. I don't think I've even really critiqued the video. I've just been critiquing The Last Jedi. That's basically it. I was going over the flaws in The Last Jedi, the movie, not really so much the video here.
Well, he's wrong on some elements which you've already gone over.
He's actually one of the best we've seen so far, so I appreciate it.
This more balanced, where there are jokes, but they actually have a character-driven reason for being there, I would have been really happy. I also thought that Luke's death, and specifically the shot of him fading away, framed against the twin suns, was a really great image that brought Luke's story full circle in a pretty moving way.
The thing is, the Twin Suns is very specific to one system. So why done much live action. It's very strange that you'd also have Twin Suns in another system that are exactly the same distance apart and all that kind of stuff.
Well, this is a problem with the actual film. If you look at the various shots of the sun, sometimes there's only one sun, and sometimes the cloud covering is covering most of the other. If there is another sun, we don't know. So there's so many shots of the horizon, and sometimes there's two suns, and sometimes there isn't.
Mm-hmm. It's just kind of a nostalgia thing. It didn't need to be there. It doesn't really add anything, and it's more just kind of confuses you. If you actually stop to think about why are there twin suns, that doesn't make any logical sense.
Sure,
then it confuses
it's sloppy regardless. Like, if you're going to do this, make it believable. That's all I ask for, whether it's science fiction or fantasy or what have you. If you're doing something as complicated in space and just basics, like a binary star system, okay, that's going to have some weird gravity things. I can understand a water level being crazy and the tides being all over the place. Maybe there's a few moons involved. Fantastic. You've done the basic homework. But if you're showing shots of the horizon, guess what you got to do? You have to always show me twin suns. Always. If you're going to remove a sun, sometimes I'll be like, is that Like, is it nighttime now? Is it did cumulonimbus take over the stratus? Like, what's happening? Like, there's so many shots of the horizon, and I don't know the time of day. I don't know the cloud cover, and it keeps changing. And that's what you not confuse the issue once you start putting in planets with time cycles and weather patterns and lights and time of day. It gets confusing. And in a book, you can write it very clearly and very succinctly. There are two suns in the sky. And then you go, okay, the next scene is being covered by, one of the two suns is being covered by clouds. And you're like, great, I understand completely. But with visuals, and they're different visuals, I mean, this is one thing I talked about in my problem videos with TLJ. But it's such a subtle thing. And if you don't pay attention, you don't think about it. But when you do, it's like, oh, this Ryan, what are you doing? Don't do that. It's too confused. Two suns are a big deal. Okay? I don't know if you guys are aware, but stars are a pretty big deal in space. So once you have a solar system with the binary stars, it's pretty interesting. So just have them for the sake of it is not a good idea.
Work outside of cameos and the Flash, so I was a little nervous going in, but he sold his character's pain and one-liners equally well. I really liked this bitter,
I wonder why he
take
sells
on
his
Luke.
pain
I
really
also
well.
really like Rey. I know it was popular to bash her online after The Force Awakens came out, but I think
No, it wasn't. It wasn't popular to bash her online after The Force Awakens came out. It became popular after The Last Jedi came out, because that was when people were starting to wake up about it. When after the Force Awakens came out, a lot of people were very happy with the film and very much were singing its praise everywhere.
A lot of people were talking about episode 7 being too close to episode 4.
Yeah, that was the closest you got to a lot of criticism, at least the mainstream criticisms that were leaking into the mainstream. And that a lot of the time, still then people made excuses for it. And it wasn't until The Last Jedi that it really started to pick up the pace. And it was kind of like the Last Jedi was the straw that broke the camel's back, and then all of a sudden that illusion just completely dropped, and then everyone just started heavily criticizing it everywhere.
I think that's the general opinion of Captain Midnight. He likes the ideas. It's just they weren't expressed and done well in a way that made sense. So him liking Rey is like, okay, there's really not much going for her in Last Jedi. There's no much soul searching, trying to find her way. It's sort of hinted at, but there's nothing revealed aside from nothing.
What is the center of Rey's character?
She wants to fit in. That's it. She wants to feel that she fits into some part of the universe. And she has no family. The father figure she wanted is gone. She tries to associate with Kylo Ren. That doesn't work out. The best she has is Leia, apparently.
See, I don't know what people are saying the theme of The Last Jedi is, but you would think that it would be loss or failure is the greatest teacher. That kind of thing is what the theme that they're talking about. So she is a character that has not been developed in The Force Awakens beyond how she was introduced. She thinks that her parents are going to come back and find her, right? So she has built into the character in The Last Jedi the idea that her parents were going to come back to Jakku, or maybe not. But if they never were, doesn't she want to know who they are? Well, the lesson then Rian Johnson is saying, no, if your parents abandoned you, which is what Kylo said, and we can say, oh, maybe he's lying. Maybe there was just some BS he was saying. But if your parents don't want you, then you don't need them. And then that cave scene with the mirror, you don't need your parents. And then when we get to the training thing, oh, Luke's not going to train you. You don't need training. All you need is hope, because it's like the sun. It slowly becomes a giant fat gas giant and explodes. But you know what I mean? It's all this. It's the what Ryan did is he took what you wanted, created the subversive aspect, because he thought that there was a greater lesson in meaning and that it was more realistic. Like if somebody fails at something, then they learn from it. And then you'll get it right the next time. But the problem is that in this, there is no next time where you get it right. It ends on a note that's, oh, everything's supposed to be happy, like Empire Strikes Back, like things are looking up. Except in Empire Strikes Back, there's a justification on a material level for that.
You also don't need to fail to learn to learn. You can very much succeed and learn from your successes as well as your failures.
There's a term called learn from someone else's mistakes. There's one term called learn from your mistakes. There's also a term called learn from someone else's mistakes, which is
just
be
don't
anybody.
make a mistake in the first place.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure there are many ways to teach and to learn more than just failing, which are much more efficient than failing.
The problem is it's just a generic telling of describing the content, which is people don't succeed all the time. It's like, yeah, that's if a story was perfect, it wouldn't be worth talking about. The conflict wouldn't matter. The problem with Rey is the conflict pretty much doesn't matter. Everything she does, she pretty much succeeds 95% of the time. And if she fails, she immediately solves the problem after that. So having Yoda tell us the theme is like, pain is the great teacher. Pick conflict is a great teacher. Like, pick anything. It would still be applicable to The Last Jedi. Because there is no real theme aside from nothing matters. The First Order is going to kill you. And all you can do is run.
Especially pain. I would believe pain would be the theme of The Last Jedi. There's lots of it to be had. And the whole thing is that Yoda coming in and telling Luke Skywalker, of all people, that failure is the best teacher. That's not something that Yoda should be coming in to tell Luke Skywalker, the guy who has failed over and over and over again until he finally was able to succeed in his training, complete it, and finally defeat Darth Vader. And even then, he almost failed and fell to the dark side. So Luke Skywalker, above everyone else, probably in Star Wars, maybe other than Anakin Skywalker himself, knows full well that failure is one heck of a good teacher because he's done it quite a few times. He's learned a lot of lessons from his several failures that he experienced during the original trilogy. Now, if this were to be written without propaganda or agenda being fueled by agenda or something, then it would be probably an instance of Rey defying Luke Skywalker, like she does in the movie, and defying his teachings. But first of all, Luke would have to actually want to teach her something. But it would be if they wanted Luke to be her mentor, which they probably didn't because it's just we got to subvert expectations. But if Luke had been her mentor, like he should have been, and then Rey was learning from him, and then he did something that she didn't like teaching her that to let go of her friends or something like that, or something that would connect it to failure. And then Rey got mad at him and said, "No, failure is not an option" or something. Yoda would then come in and tell Rey, greatest teacher failure is. Not Luke Skywalker. His journey is already complete. What is he going to do? This sort of wisdom from a mentor figure is meant for the developing hero, not the old codger is already finished. Okay, this sort of stuff is effective for the developing hero, like Rey should have been. She was the one that should have gotten this message, but because she's a Mary Sue and perfect and the best as ever, it's Luke who has to learn it. Luke has to learn it, and not only that, not only does Yoda teach Luke or remind Luke of this lesson because he apparently doesn't know it or whatever. He goes and says, you have to look up to Rey. Like he essentially says, Rey will take care of everything because Rey's awesome. So you Luke Skywalker, you need to learn lessons, but Rey already knows everything.
Have you seen Empire Strikes Back?
Yeah, Luke spends most of that movie like failing over and over again. He failed to save Echo Base. Or he failed in his to get back to Echo Base.
Well, I suppose it wasn't technically a failing to save Echo Base because they weren't trying to save Echo Base. They were trying to escape from the Empire before they got there, and it was all just trying to stall for time.
Luke Skywalker, he got lost. What I was thinking of was he got lost, and then Han Solo had to go find him, and he almost died. And then he had to fight, and I know they weren't planning to save it. That wasn't the plan. But the thing is, that was a strategic withdrawal, which is a failure. But it is a strategic failure. Like it's kind of like kind of rolling with the punches, a descend fall, a controlled fall, that sort of thing. That's basically what it was. And then he failed when he went to see Yoda. He found Yoda, but he failed in the teachings because Yoda was like he got frustrated with him because Luke wasn't getting the right mentality. And then it all culminated and was exemplified really, really well with the whole take the X-wing out of the swamp scenario. Luke failed. Okay, and that was the epitome of all the things that was a frustrating Yoda. That was showing us everything culminating to Luke's failure up until that point. And then after that, he's kind of started realizing that this is not a lost cause. So Luke spent most of that movie, The Empire Strikes Back, failing over and over and over again, all resulting in his final failure of that movie, learning that he's not powerful enough, that he's not strong enough yet. He still has plenty to learn, and that he should have listened to Yoda and remained and continued his training. When Darth Vader nearly kills him, cuts off his arm, and leaves him almost for dead. So Luke knows full well, Rian Johnson and Yoda, that failure can teach you a whole mess of good lessons because he learned them from failure.
This is still the problem with the message of the theme. Yoda could have made any platitude, like "seek and ye shall find," and that would be the basis for any quest story or any story in Star Wars, really. Or do and do not. There is no, do not. There is no try. That would have been exactly the same meaning, because you haven't succeeded. You haven't done the thing you're supposed to do. Oh, I guess in the next act, the hero goes off and does the thing they're supposed to. Oh, Rey's doing that. There it goes. What have you been doing, Luke? It's like the same nonsense. It's so generic. That whole part with Yoda was stupid. It came out of nowhere. It explained something for the sake of explaining things.
And then Yoda just randomly force sky lightnings a tree, which at the time Luke thought had the sacred Jedi texts,
which he was about to destroy, but he didn't really want to destroy it. And then he gets pissed off that Yoda did it. And you're like, what
secret Jedi texts? I wanted to burn them.
I guess.
God damn it, Yoda.
It's getting silly. Anyway, let's get back to the video. Let me read some super chats. What is that? Breed Glibs is a great teacher in cursed sentences. Breed Glibs?
I have no idea I don't know what that means.
Breed Glibs.
I've read that as breathe glib. Don't try and snap a chat too quick.
Let's
Breed.
Let's take that on board and move on.
All right, I'm gonna say, leave Glib and his breeding alone. Okay, he's his own man. Let him figure that for himself.
I'm trying not to right now. I'm trying to successfully not breed. It's a little expensive right now.
All righty, Glib. Good.
I'm
Thanks
just
for the
practicing,
update,
guys. I'm just practicing.
All righty. Good to know.
I don't know if it is good to know, but
well, keep
there's
me
more.
updated.
There's more. My life is a better love story than The Last Jedi right now. So
this
far.
is true. I think many people's lives are a better love story than The Last Jedi.
Especially a better hate story. I know that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Here's Andrew Clark. L.R. Mariner is like Ahsoka, but much, much better. I'm kind of losing.
Oh yeah, what was that? What? Who said that? I know someone mentioned that some video said that Lower Decks Mariner was better than Ashoka Tano.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
And then they are not anywhere comparable. Not just in terms of writing quality, but there are no similarities at all between the two. And it was someone. I remember hearing that, but I don't remember it.
Oh boy, comparing a parody character to.
You're asking me for the video. I don't know. I didn't bring this up. It was someone else that brought it up.
Yeah. I thought I heard it from you before.
No,
I heard it
I
from you
didn't
before.
do that, but I'll look it up.
You're talking about the Lore Reloaded thing?
Was that it? I heard somebody saw a video where a guy compared Mariner from Lower Decks to Ashoka Tano and said she was like Ashoka Tano, but much better.
Yeah,
so you know who it is?
That was Lore Reloaded. I did a little stream covering 3 of his videos because somebody named Officer Jimmy on Twitter added a bunch of people, and I thought, hey, I'll respond to this. I think I understand the Phantom Menace because it was about. He sent me a video about the Phantom Menace book that was on Indiegogo, had 289 backers, made $11,000. and he was complaining about that. I guess he's jealous of the money or jealous of the fact that this book comes out. So he tries to cite all these things and go, okay, this guy makes, this kind of YouTube video channel where it's, it's trying to mischaracterize arguments that you don't like, that kind of thing. So he goes into his Upper Decks video, and I'm watching it because
Lower Decks.
we had watched. Sorry, Upper Decks is what I'm on. The stupid ensigns in the Lower Decks, the Abysmal Decks. We had watched that. So when I tuned into this thing, I was like, okay, what's this kind of take going to be? And he says that the Lower Deck introduction is similar to how the movie, the Clone Wars 2008 movie was, in the way that it introduced Ahsoka.
No, I'm going to have to call bullshit on that.
No, right. But hold on, Shiny, I did too, and I watched that movie and I hated it. And I'm not a big Clone Wars fan, but even so, this was way worse. Like I left the theater, the Clone Wars movie was like, it wasn't like I didn't enjoy it that much, but it's not like the worst.
Yeah,
thing I've seen in Star Wars.
You're not going to find many Clone Wars fans actually defending the film. Whenever Clone Wars fans talk about Clone Wars, they're always talking about later seasons.
But his point was that fans
I know
bitch about how the movie started bad, but it gets better. And then he was saying, this is the same thing. Lower Decks will get better and turn into the Clone Wars. That's what he's saying.
Okay, there is nothing there at all to possibly make that prediction.
Well, here's sorry. What I'm saying is that with Star Trek versus the Clone Wars had everything to work with, right? They had all the prequel material to expand on as long as they wanted to. They could do all sorts of stories. They had many episodes that they could put in there. Lower Decks has characters that nobody likes. And so if it's going to be like Clone Wars, that means roping in actual characters that we do like to then shit on them and like cut off their head or something and laugh at it. So I don't see how the potential could grow into Clone Wars. I don't understand how this could grow into a serious show. Well, Clone Wars is a serious show, right? This is a farce.
Yeah, Clone Wars doesn't have, characters that just randomly pulled and then suckled by spiders which are milked by these pig farmer guys. And then Ahsoka isn't actively belittling the other character, saying I'm right all the time, or you're stupid Morty.
I can't believe I called it
I'm more intelligent than you.
I can't believe I called it Upper Decks, like an upper decker where you take a shit in the top of the toilet.
Oh well, that's what it feels like. It feels like someone shat in the toilet.
Alrighty, here's EC Cons. I remember Ahsoka touching Anakin without his consent and tugging on his shoulder whenever he tries to walk away and slices his leg. Yeah, that never happened. Thankfully. Yeah, I don't think we want to ever compare the events of Lower Decks into any other form of sci-fi or science fiction. That's probably not a very good idea. Being a parody, of course. So,
I just I watched what's the name of the episode? Shoot, I'm hallucinating at this point. Not Integration. What's it called? Is that the name of the episode where it's the two-parter with Spock, Sarek, and Picard? And there's just this weight to everything. Unification, not integration. Sorry, integration is the dissociative identity disorder thing that I'm doing for Mr. Robot. But yeah, it has this seriousness to it, a quality to the actual writing that cares and takes everything at face value. It believes in the concept. It's not snarky. It's not cynical. It's not trying to be subversive. It's trying to be earnest. And that kind of content is what makes Star Trek so good, is that the characters that are the heroes don't really have ulterior motives outside of their moral interests. If they do, they realize that it's kind of like a personal thing, something that maybe that they're trying to overcome, or it's an aspect of their personality that needs to be to learn from other people that are friends. It's an ideal situation. So when we take an ideal and we make it into a farce, it's insulting to people that believe in the ideals, or at least some of them. Even if you think it's just cheesy, you can see it's not the same.
Here's I guess we go again. Clone War sells Galaxy War LiteratureDevil is dead on the spot. I'm not sure what those two ideas, how they're connected. What did LiteratureDevil say that he's dead on the spot with?
No, Lower Decks. It's
Oh,
not lit.
Lower Decks. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're used to people saying LD referring to lit
Yeah.
dev.
Okay, too many acronyms. All right, that's fine. I got confused.
Star Trek, Literature Devil.
Yeah, I was like, what? What are you talking about?
Oh, I think it was Zofrats that made a tweet saying ST-LD, ST, Shiny Trooper, LD, lit dev.
Okay. Interesting. Anyway, let's keep going.
I think it's one's shipping name now.
Oh, dear.
Too many ships now.
Yeah, okay.
Take all the shipping
She's a
names
very
and
likable-
turn them into actual science fiction spaceships in our stories.
Oh, God.
So the Space Cowboy will be one of the ships, right? USS Space Cowboy. And whatever the next.
No.
Yeah, that just
No.
literally
No.
turn it into a friendship.
lead, and
The USS
Daisy Ridley is a
friend
pretty
zoned.
great actress. And she got to showcase that more in this movie, especially in her Force-driven Skype calls with Kylo Ren. Basically, I'm saying that all that stuff works for me. The island, Rey and Ben Solo's relationship, and the incredible throne room battle. I never found the question of who Snoke was all that interesting, so killing him off early to avoid a boring retread of the Emperor worked for me.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, if you don't care for a character, you don't really care what their end is. I get that. But in relation to the story, he is the big bad. He's literally just pushed aside because we don't need him anymore. We already have a villain. Which screws up the entire setup of what the First Order is, what they're trying to do, and why they're even here. Now, Kylo Ren can just do whatever the hell he wants, which changes the complete direction of the plot. It's kind of like having an epic story. Let's take the water margin story from ancient China, and one of the heroes, one of the 100 or so odd heroes, actually no, there's probably like 60 or 70, kills the king, and then they're emperor, and you're like, oh, okay, then they get to do whatever they want, and then, oh, they just do business as usual, nothing changes. So why even have an emperor that's usurped? What's the point? Like, you don't kill off characters because it's cool, or because you weren't expecting it. That's there has to be consequences. There has to be reasons why things happen in a story, and killing a king is a big deal, or killing a guy in charge of a military organization like the First Order, which seems to be everywhere and more powerful than the Republic itself, is kind of a big deal. So.
I also liked the non-answer to who Rey's parents were. If they had been like Obi-Wan or Luke, it would have made the Star Wars universe seem hilariously small, and remind me way too much of stuff from the prequels, like the fact that 3PO was made by Darth Vader.
Okay, that's a fair point, but we still need to know how she's so strong.
Right.
And her whole thing is she needs to fit in, she needs to know where she's from, and she's from nowhere. Which means her entire journey is either useless, or she has to go on another journey of self-discovery, and this is not the film for it. If it was, that would be great. That would be a fantastic plot twist. She'd be like, oh, I am from nowhere. I got to now find my place now. I got to fit in somehow. And she never does. She never says, hey, I've gotten over my lack of yearning for a family, or now I have a boyfriend, or now I have a community. We never get that feeling from Rey, even in episode 9. Well, that's other problems there. So if you want to go that route and not explain her powers, not explain her background, how she can do all these things, great. Give me another reason why. You can't just throw nothing at me and make me go, this plate is empty. I wanted a meal. You have to serve me something. I have to chew it and digest it and make sense of it. You can't just say, here's a plate full of nothing. Doesn't work like that in stories.
It always feels more than a little forced when they do something like that, so I'm glad they avoided it here. And Rey...
A little forced? Rian Johnson's a little forced? How many ham-fisted scenes do we have in this movie?
Extremely bad at forcing things.
Every single scene is predicated on contrivance. Why aren't the First Order winning? Oh, their guns don't work at a certain distance, and they're not fast enough to catch. It's like, what? You have fleets of ships, TIE fighters, all kinds of ships. They're annihilating everyone. You can't catch up?
They've already established that the TIE fighters can very easily catch up. They have TIE fighters, they have TIE bombers, they have all these ships. They could just send a... There's no shields at the front of the ship. They've established this. They could just send TIE fighters to the front of the ships. They can fire their missiles, and bish bash bosh, they've destroyed the capital ship.
Every single scene is based off a previous scene or previous setup that was contrived. The ramming into Finn at high speed should have killed both. They didn't. The laser hitting the shield wall should have killed everyone. It didn't. Like every single scene. And then, of course, there's the ridiculousness of the bombers themselves at the start of the film. That Poe can... Okay, I can believe Poe is an amazing pilot, as contrived as that was. Fine, that's the whole point of his character. He'd be that good. Great. Stupid, comedy, whatever. Don't care. I can believe that. It's just a series of bad setups that are unbelievable to the point of the next thing happening. So I don't know. It's an odd take. But he's not thinking.
Series.
Go ahead. Done?
Nothing.
Okay.
I was just thinking, like, everything in Rian Johnson's movies are contrived. Like, that's the main problem with Knives Out, is everything in that movie is very contrived.
Well, I've never watched it, but you can't have a contrived murder mystery. That doesn't make any sense. Everything has to fit into place. It can't just be...
It has to fit in.
Yeah, no, it literally has to fit in. If you don't have a murder mystery that the pieces don't fit, you've got a bad murder mystery. You cannot contrive a plot. It has to make sense. Anyway.
Coming from nothing actually makes the Force a lot more interesting to me. It's not some genetic warrior situation that
It's never been genetic. It's never ever been genetic. The only ever case we have of genetic Force wielders is the Skywalkers, and you're focusing only on the Skywalkers. Obi-Wan wasn't part of a bloodline. Yoda wasn't part of a bloodline.
Well, we don't know that, do we? From the movies? From the movies. It could be anything. We don't have a definite answer, so why even bother?
It can't be from a bloodline because the Jedi don't have relationships.
Why?
They actively go out and seek their order.
That just enforces the notion that the Skywalkers show that there is a genealogical aspect of it. And why not? What's the problem?
Well, the way they're showing
People just hate that idea.
The way they're showing it is that the only way you could possibly be important is if it's the bloodline. I've heard this argument too many times to count, where they just say, "Oh, well, I like the Last Jedi because, you know, in order to be a Force wielder, you don't need to have any kind of special blood, and it makes the Force deeper." Say, no, it doesn't. You never needed a bloodline to be a Force user.
Well,
never.
Yeah, exactly. Why does it have to be either way? Where's the rule in canon in the movies?
It doesn't, but
it's either way.
It's painted as if it was always this way. Like you had to be part of a bloodline.
But I don't. What I'm saying is that in my experience, I've never seen anybody come up with a convincing argument that it was one way or the other. That it wasn't possible that there were new Jedi that could come out, or that there would be, Jedi powers that would be passed down. It doesn't make sense.
I would actually believe that you could do both, but then again, I'm more arguing what they're arguing, and what they're arguing is that they want Rey to be from no one because it says Force users can come from anywhere, and it's not any. You don't need to be part of a special bloodline, but you never needed to be part of a special bloodline. It was never a prerequisite.
Right, exactly. So it's like what I'm saying is that the flat rule of the universe is not defined. It doesn't tell you. It just tells you that it can be, not that it always is, or that it has to be, or that it's not. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Here's a super chat from Escal. Relationships bad. Course Jedi, they wouldn't breed. I think there was, well, obviously in Legends, there's all kinds of Jedi hooking up. But even in the Old Republic, I believe one of the romance options is a Jedi initiate or something. And she can...
It's like...
Sorry?
A Padawan.
She's a Padawan? Yeah, and she has no problems having children with you.
Well, it's still in the order that it's something you shouldn't do because of attachments in that game.
Right, but in the context of that scenario, it's okay by her. She's not breaking any rules.
It's not. Well,
Which the Jedi Consular or the Jedi Knight?
There is a romance for each, which both are Padawans. But if you're looking within, still, we happen to go to Old Republic here, which isn't exactly close to the films, a few thousand years before. But even then, it is something you're not allowed to do, and if a Jedi ever did have a child, the child was taken away from them, and it still wasn't the main way the Jedi Order got refilled their numbers. They got their numbers by going out and finding people to train. They didn't say, "Hey, you over there, Jedi, you over there, Jedi, make babies, and then we have a Padawan to train."
Forced couplings just sounds like something you would put in a dystopian civilization or dystopian book.
Well, anyway, yeah, the point was, I think I've already made my point pretty clear. I think people understand it.
Yeah, so
it would be friggin' creepy.
Yeah, it was always this way in the stories. Yes, genetics does play a role, but it's not ever defined one way or the other. But they actually do make reference to that strong Jedi blood. So in The Last Jedi, I believe. So it is. They're aware of it. It is part of the bloodline, and it is part of nature. So it's random, and it's also genetics.
It's caught and rough, and also gets everywhere.
Yeah, that's the Force. There you go. So that the main reason we wanted to know her background is because we don't understand how strong she is. We don't get it, and there's no explanation. So if there's no explanation, it has to be something genetic. It has to be based off nature, and maybe there is a definition in The Force Awakens for what an awakening in the Force means, and we always associated that with a 4-year-old or a 3-year-old being sensitive to the Force, and maybe Jedi can sense that, maybe the Sith can sense that too. That's a whole big ritual to go find these kids. Makes sense, but this seemed as if it was a bigger deal because she's so strong, and it happens later in life. So why did it happen later in life? Why did she discover the Force then? Why not when she was 3 or 4? There's lots of things we don't get. And figuring out her background would have helped at least some. But Ryan goes, no, it's too complicated. I'm not going to bother with it.
She doesn't fit in. So LiteratureDevil has just kind of cursed me now because I now think that fucking film, too good.
We'll have a Xanax or a Diet Coke.
You can fit it into so many films, and it's amazing. You can just quote it all day.
That only a few families have, and it would be a lot less cool if it was.
The Star Wars Special. Starring Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker.
I don't understand what was wrong with Mark Hamill in
So
that
if
film.
I liked
why
this
do you look
stuff so much,
weird
why do I have
feminine?
such a problem with the rest of the movie? Well, going back to our Phantom Menace behind the scenes clip, I think this critique applies to the middle section of The Last Jedi. We have Rey and Luke having serious conversations about the nature of the Force, the Resistance facing down almost certain doom, and Finn and Rose having a casino and space llama adventure straight out of a Saturday morning cartoon. Maybe that's too harsh, because I like the idea behind the story a lot. I even like Rose's introduction, with Finn figuring out that he's kind of a celebrity now. But I just can't get into this.
But how does
casino
Finn become a
sequence,
celebrity
which
so
is too
quickly? It's very stupid. It's been less than a day since Finn has arrived there and Starkiller Base has been destroyed, and all of a sudden he's a celebrity. That doesn't make
a kind of a contrived way to kind of paint their own new characters as celebrities by adding in a fangirl who sees them as celebrities. Oh, no one likes Finn or Rey. Let's add in another fangirl character so that she can fawn over Finn and Rey. So that if we do that, then the audience will be manipulated into thinking that, oh, these guys are really cool actually, and not hollow and terrible.
Yeah, Finn got injured in the last movie, was completely out of commission for, I guess, a day. Healed up, no problem, from a spinal injury within 24 hours, apparently. Back on his feet.
Yeah, he's kind of like Batman, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. Got broken by Bane. Actually, no, Batman took a while to come back, depending on which story you read. He became a cyborg.
Well, Finn had the advantage of being close to Mary Sue. He had the advantage of being needed by Mary Sue. If you notice, you can miraculously be healed of even life-threatening injuries if a Mary Sue needs you.
No, Mary Sue never needs anyone. Ray never needed Finn. Never.
Oh, she wants him alive. Because Ray, she might not need Finn, but she likes Finn to stay alive. So if that's the case, then if Mary Sue likes you, you will overcome pretty much anything.
Yeah, it's annoying.
Well, as per Mary Sue, she has to care about everyone. Everyone has to be okay. She has to solve every problem. She's nice to everyone.
Except for the bad guys.
Yeah, no. Don't kill the bad guys. She's too good for them. Don't kill anyone. There we go.
Or where we haven't.
I'm
so pure that she vomits whenever she tells a lie.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah, that's a possibility. Yeah. Mary Sue's are very strange in that
Yeah.
you could tweak them a bit. They're still a Mary. It's like, yeah, she's a bit evil. Maybe she wants to kill the bad guys, but she's still a Mary Sue. It's the same idea. Whether it's violence or semi-violence or non-lethal takedowns, she's still winning.
I'm looking at the lower text video which Glib just put in there. I was like, how does anyone think it's good? Honestly, I don't think he can make an argument, and Glib probably.
I wonder if that guy too was invited by CBS.
How could you think it's fine? How could you think it's good? It's so
fine. It's totally fine, you guys.
I'm currently making, alongside the reaction, I was actually writing a review before I hopped on, and I was recording it and everything, and I was going over kind of the difference between other comedies and this one, and it seems to me that there is a lot of a good structure of comedy is a logical through line, a cause and effect. So this thing happens, and then logically the next thing happens, and that cause is that causes the joke. It's there is a sort of a weird logic to it, even though it is humor, and it's hard to quite nail down why something is funny. But in Lower Decks, it's just, oh, it's funny because it's nonsense. She's she just stabbed his leg. He's doing a captain's log and he's embarrassed by it. He's screaming because he's embarrassed. He's being chucked around by a milk spider. Yay. And that's the comedy. And there's a huge difference between comedy which makes sense and it has the setup and the payoff and the logical through line and the cause and effect, and then just that being very shallow and nonsensical.
I think Shiny's trying to say is go watch Red Dwarf and see how the Brits do it properly in space.
Mm-hmm. Well, Red Dwarf is a different show. It's mostly the very first episode which kind of preludes to it, because after the first episode, the entire crew is dead. It becomes a different show. It's still worth watching, but I'm more looking at like the first 2/3 of it, where you're following the two lowest ranking on the ship and how they kind of treat them. Because I want to try and describe it without going on for like a really long time.
That's okay.
Okay, we'll keep going. This is a discussion for Lower Decks and not The Last Jedi.
Alrighty, good idea.
Because it really feels like Rian Johnson trying something new for the franchise, and I want to encourage that. But the jokes
does it feel that way?
Not great. Now, obviously, humor is very subjective. And if you thought the Canto Bite sequences were hilarious, that's great. I'm not trying to take that away from you. But for me, these jokes were
the Canto Bite sequences were supposed to be funny?
Broad. I especially groaned at the little CG gremlin putting coins into BB-8, who then launches them at guards later. This was like Attack of the Clones level droid nonsense. Star Wars has always been a very kid-friendly franchise, but that stuff just clashed so hard with the rest of the movie that it reminded me of Episode 1 having to cut back to Jar Jar hijinks right after Qui-Gon died. Though, admittedly, not that bad. Getting back to Last Jedi, I like Benicio del Toro a lot, but underneath all the verbal tics, I just don't think there was much to the DJ character. He was a shady guy that they knew they shouldn't trust, and then, surprise, they shouldn't have trusted him. Then there was the getaway on the space llama things, which was probably the low point of the film for me. The visual effects during the chase just aren't convincing, and they look surprisingly sloppy for
There's a lot
movie
more
this
problems
expensive.
than just the
That's
visual
something
effects.
I'd be willing to forgive if the emotion behind the scene didn't feel so contrived. Between the child actors and the sad animals, it all just felt a bit overwrought and corny. Your mileage on that may vary, but for me it just felt really out of place, and cutting back to this story every few minutes felt like it brought the pacing to a crawl. I really liked Finn in The Force Awakens, and I really hope they have something better for him planned in Episode 9, because this just felt like they needed to give him something to do, even if it didn't ultimately matter that much. And I think the character deserves better.
That guy was awesome.
Don't miss the Ewok Adventure. Now on video.
Okay.
Don't talk about the Ewok Adventure.
It actually took me a long time to write this script, because identifying what made this movie feel off, to me, was kind of tough. A lot of it will come down to how the jokes land, and that's up to personal preference. There was so much to like about the movie, from Holdo's sacrifice to Kylo Ren's betrayal of Snoke and Luke's last stand, that I really wish the entire...
Kylo Ren's betrayal of Snoke? What was that? Let's just go back.
I think he's supposed to say
betrayal. Oh. He liked that, really? Okay, that's fine.
Film had clicked for me, but it just didn't. Rian Johnson is obviously a talented director and has a lot of interesting ideas, but I hope for his trilogy, there's another screenwriter there actually writing the screenplays. In the end, I respect what Johnson was attempting in The Last Jedi, but I'm just not sure about the execution.
Non-existent, I suppose.
The final scene sums this up so well. A young slave boy with the power to use the Force looks up at the stars, signaling that, like Luke and Rey before him, the spark of hope has been ignited. I want to like it, but it just goes for the heartstrings so obviously and so bluntly that it felt emotionally unearned. Am I just getting too cynical for Star Wars? That'd be depressing.
I think after The Last Jedi, most of us are pretty cynical if we weren't already.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Hey, you know what? That was one of our better videos, guys. That worked out rather well.
That's it?
That's it.
Very short.
That was great.
That's
10 minutes?
short.
The thing is, we didn't pause it every 2 seconds because it was sane. And he was making reasonable points. And yeah, he liked certain parts that we didn't like. But he backed them up. He said, yeah, well, this is not how it works out. I like Poe and his...
Back it up with a lot of... we disagreed with him on a few parts. And he wasn't insane, but he also wasn't right about a lot of things as well. And the arguments didn't quite pan out with some of the things he was trying to say.
I know, but he didn't
I like the fact that he didn't say, like, oh, I think this part was amazing because of all these artsy sort of things. He actually used things that were in the movie.
And he didn't try to belittle anyone who didn't like the film.
Yeah,
exactly. The only racist and sexist didn't like this part of the movie.
Right.
Yeah. Or crazy, dumb fanboys. He didn't do any of that. That was pretty good. That's pretty good.
Like he liked the climax, which was the ramming, lightspeed ramming into the Dreadnought, which was like, yeah, that's a very exciting, stimulating visual extravaganza. You're right. You can, and that's it. He liked Holdo's sacrifice. Period. No explanation. It looked good.
Yeah,
it's exciting. It's like, yeah, that's it.
I really liked it too, for totally different reasons. But I too liked it. And the title of this video is actually pretty spot on. It actually did aim high. I mean, yeah, Rian Johnson did aim high, and he fell very, very short.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty spot on title there.
So I liked his understanding of the previous film, the comics of Poe he really liked, and how he didn't like the execution of a lot of... He liked the ideas, not the execution, which is what we say a lot in analysis. We say these are all elements of a film or a story. They're all there, and it's how you put them together, how you present them, how you render them onto the screen, how you put them into your minds.
That's often because the problem is that there are plenty of ways to make an idea work. So there isn't necessarily bad ideas, more ideas which are going to be very difficult to do, and some on the level of almost impossible to do. But you can still do them. Like again, it's going to be extremely difficult to get away with an old grumpy grandpa Luke, but if you could definitely do it if you're a talented enough writer and your ability is on that level.
No. You can give these ideas to a 7-year-old, and they can write a better script. I say this lots of times. Get all the elements in the Act 1, 2, and 3. Give them to a 7-year-old who likes Star Wars and say, this is what you got to work with, kid. What do you want to do? And I bet you any money that kid can write a better script, a more entertaining script, a more meaningful script, and a more exciting script. Just because he's a fan and he knows Star Wars. I think Dunn could do this in about 10 minutes if I gave him a few ideas, because he can do that if, maybe not 10 minutes, but he'll spend the extra 2 hours and write out a script just because it's a challenge to him. But it wouldn't be a difficult thing to do. If you want to have an wizened old Luke who's confused and doesn't want to work out with the galaxy anymore, great. Play with it. Shouldn't be a problem. Lots of ways to write that character. And
I personally don't like any of the choices that Ryan made when it came to doing the subversive thing. I think that there's nothing wrong and that there's something noble about giving people what they want. They didn't even know that they wanted it, and they enjoy it even more because of it. So giving people what they wanted when it came to Luke and making it a fresh and interesting story, that would be how I would do it. I think we're in the era of people trying to cope, but the cope is becoming much less effective. I think people are turning around on Last Jedi. The Rise of Skywalker basically dropped a bunch of things in response, and because of that, now people are starting to wake up a little bit more.
And there's certain magic to there is a certain appeal to subverting expectations, and you can do it successfully. But you also have to keep in mind that people have expectations that they want met or exceeded. And that's why I always bring up the example of how Yoda was introduced in The Empire Strikes Back, because we were expecting this really powerful, or really a strong, muscular warrior, the kind of guy who would have taught Obi-Wan Kenobi. What we got was Yoda, who was this little guy who seemingly was very frail and harmless looking. But the idea was that we were expecting a powerful warrior, but the image of that powerful warrior was what got subverted. We still got what we were expecting, a very powerful and wise warrior, but our expectations were subverted in the looks department. We're not expecting Yoda to be this small creature that looks very fragile. We wanted him to be we were expecting him to be this huge warrior who was really strong, maybe like an Arnold Schwarzenegger type or something. They tried to pull that in The Last Jedi, but they missed the whole mark, because the Yoda introduction met our expectations. It exceeded them, but it also subverted how we wanted him to look like. But we still got what we wanted. We still got what we said we were going to get. What they said that we were going to get, and we still got what we expected: a very powerful, because Yoda was powerful, and a very wise mentor, a wise warrior, which we got, because Yoda was also very wise. Now with Luke Skywalker, we were expecting a wise and powerful mentor. They could have subverted our expectations by saying that he is not optimistic anymore. That's fine. We were still expecting a wise and powerful mentor.
And have it be a girl. Like, that actually would have worked.
Or something. But we still had to stay with Luke, right? We still had to stay with Luke. He still could have been this crabby old guy on the planet somewhere, because that would subvert expectations. But where Rian Johnson differed was that he subverted our expectations by, instead of giving us a wise, powerful mentor, he gave us this nihilistic, depressed mentor who is the complete opposite of what we wanted to have in the first place. So he could have subverted expectations by giving us someone a little different, but still logically connected to the cycle of Luke Skywalker, but still should have met our expectations by giving us this powerful mentor figure, this powerful Jedi, which is why I still think Luke Skywalker should have traveled to the planet and fought the First Order physically by all of his Force powers, so we can see how powerful he could be, and Rey could see how powerful she could become had she listened to Luke, had she followed his teachings that he should have given her. I guess he also subverted expectations by not having him not teach her anything really.
That would have been a great opportunity for Rey to grow, to say, hey, I could learn something, actually get a lesson from Luke, be reluctant or be distracted because she only cares about her identity or her parents or what have you, and she can't focus. And then she has to learn how to focus, and she actually has to do something. And that's where you get that scene with the end with the rocks, because that just came out of nowhere, really.
Lifting rocks, huh? Like, fuck off, Ray.
She can just lift rocks. She doesn't need training. What are you talking about?
The way she also like looks at it, it's like lifting rocks. Like it's the meaning to her that she has to lift them, or like it's almost silly to her that she has to do it.
Yeah, I know. It's a little strange that she's just so good at everything, and she has to go get Luke to help something. We don't know what he's going to do. It's never told to us what Luke's actually going to try and accomplish. He even jokes about it. It's like, what do you want me to do? Face them down with a laser sword? He's like, I don't know. Are you like something? Tell us. What would you do, Luke? And he has no idea, no plan, no concept of help.
I don't think JJ thought that through. I don't think he thought through it what Luke's actually going to do.
We need Luke to help us save the Republic. It's like,
save Martha. Wait, what?
Save the dream. Or that other movie I never watched.
Save Martha, save the dream.
Yeah. Here's Guess Who Go again. Gonna need giant asterisks on Ruin is talented. Yeah. Well, he is, again, anyone who's gotten to that level of hierarchy in Disney has got some talent to get there, to maneuver there, to grease some wheels, to shake some hands. You know, he got there somehow. We don't know how, but he got that director's chair. And here's
save Marmite.
Save Marmite. Save the dream.
The dream of Marmite? Oh my goodness! What dream is that? Is someone on a food quest?
I dream that all children will one day have to not live under the tyranny of the Marmite Empire.
Okay, that's
your Marmite Empire.
Captain Midnight is actually pretty sane. Yes, he is. I think he is.
I'm the evil empire coming to take your Marmite away, and then Saw Gerrera's. Oh no, sorry. Then Superman's just like, save Marmite, and he's just passing this up Marmite jar onto someone. It's like, take this. It's like, what the fuck is this? I don't know what it is. I'm American.
Oh boy. Guess who go again? Good subversion requires a superior result than OG. Huh. Interesting. Trying to think of that.
It's like, well, it's like you make a promise of what you're going to give at the beginning of a story, and then you give the audience something better than what you originally promised.
If that's the assumption, comparing it to the original trilogy, saying, well, this is a story about a hero's journey becoming X and fighting his father, yada, yada. Sure, yeah, it could be a person coming into their own and discovering their own abilities on their own. Maybe there was a story with Rey discovering her force powers. We never got that story. That might have worked, I guess.
You could have done almost anything with episode 7. All you had to do is touch on the time that had passed and the state of the galaxy. You could tell you wanted, but I don't know if they know how to do that. The people that were involved, they didn't seem to have a plan. I mean, we've been over this a million times. Bunch of people, overstated importance, trying to impose their creative will on a project without actually doing the foundational work to build it, without knowing what they needed to do to connect with their audience, without caring about their expectations of their audience, because they're thinking, like, the creative people on it are thinking, how do we subvert expectations instead of how do we exceed expectations? That's what we needed. So it's very disappointing material, but I don't think that this guy necessarily is off base. There were just a couple things that you guys are pointing out. Pretty good video for what it was.
Definitely one of the better defenses of the film.
I mean, I wouldn't even consider it a defense. If it's a defense, it's very poor. But like, it's a guy that's recognizing how other people could see things wrong. There are some people that just deny that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's saying, by him admitting it falls short, that's a big step.
Here's Guess Who Go. Good subversion is fitting a 20 DK message in 50 DK. Gotta love those Donkey Kong coins. Those are fantastic. Thank you so much. Yeah, we can talk about The Last Jedi till we're old and gray, and we probably will if this keeps going on. But we love talking about stories, guys, and we love watching them. We love reading them, and we should never get tired of telling good films or telling good stories or watching and making good stuff. So hopefully this will inspire some people to make their own stuff, whether you're doing it on yourself or you're finally getting off your ass and have that script in the back of your head you've never written yet. And you got I don't know, maybe you got a manuscript or a pitch or something and you don't know who to show. I'd be happy to take a look at it. I've been getting sentences, I've been getting pages, sometimes 50, 60-page stories. Doesn't matter what. Whatever it is, just you need a little encouragement to get going. So hopefully this inspires people to do their own thing. When you have media like The Last Jedi coming out and cause you to go, oh my goodness, this is a mess.
Surprisingly, there was a lot of after The Last Jedi came out, there was an uprising in fan films.
Really? For what?
For Star Trek. Star Wars. I'm sorry, I'm Star Trek on the mind.
Star Wars Upper Decks.
I have Star Trek on the mind. I'm editing a Star Trek video while I'm trying to dispute the claim on my Star Trek video, while I'm also setting up something for Star Trek videos. Just got Star Trek on the mind.
Okay. So I want to do more Star Trek stuff because Star Trek is like I'm going through all the legacy content and it's just so rich that you could talk about it for a really long time.
For my video, I've textured a bunch of CDs which have the J.J. Abrams films, Star Trek Discovery, and Picard. And now what I've done is I'm going to burn them. I'm going to burn them and make that an animation that I'm going to put in my review.
I want to talk about the 2009 and I want to talk about Into Darkness. I might review that. I'm struggling to get through my video. People are asking me what I'm doing, but it's because I'm dealing with a non-linear story that deals with like a story versus plot mechanism. So it's like taking forever. But I really want to talk about how bad Into Darkness is because Into Darkness should have been the sign that people took to know that Star Wars was going to be bad.
Yeah, I would definitely look Into Darkness because it is kind of the epitome of all the problems in one package.
Maybe if I'm doing that, you can do a segment on it. Add like put you guys can, if I do a Into Darkness review, you guys can all talk about what you hated about it.
Well, you see, we just hated what we didn't like instead of enjoying what we do like.
Hate soulless ripoffs of things.
You see, we're just a bunch of haters. We do nothing.
I have the perfect image. I'm going to send it to you guys in chat. This is Into Darkness in a nutshell.
What is that?
Can you show that on stream? Is that possible?
Sure.
It's possible. It's whether he wants to do it.
It's what is that?
This is Star Trek Into Darkness in a nutshell.
It was a random creature that was added in 2009, and I don't know why it was added in 2009 Star Trek because it's, as far as I'm aware, it's not in the original series. So why it was added in there? Who fucking knows?
JJ's lack of aesthetic care for like his creatures and for his props and stuff is a sign of how big of a hack he is. Because he doesn't care about the visuals of it. So why does he care about the story aspects that could be analogous to the aesthetics? What does he care about? He cares about getting the job done on time, I guess.
All he cares about is if it looks cool. It looks cool if it looks hip. And that's why there's so many fucking lens flares. Because, oh my god, look, if you throw something at the lens, it looks cool. Oh, I'm going to keep throwing things at the lens all the fucking time.
Why does he look like...
Here's another lens flare.
What does he look like the Wehrmacht version of Star Trek? Why is it like Starfleet, the Wehrmacht edition, where he's about to invade Poland with that peaked cap?
He's one of those non-Aryan SS officers that just got hit by the what is that virus from or the fungus from Last of Us.
My favorite part of the whole Star Trek Into Darkness thing was when Spock, the emotionless Vulcan, starts screaming and hitting Khan like a girl, and it was really embarrassing.
Yeah, Spock is a bit of a psychopath in those films.
He's a psychopath, and the idea of putting an emotionless Vulcan into the love story instead of having
you've
make
got
any sense.
The whole thing as well where JJ describes Spock as becoming a superhero or an action hero.
we gotta make the nerd the action hero.
Spock is going to become a badass.
Uhura's gonna be a Playboy model.
Oh, jeez.
Anton Yelchin will say cheeky breeky and wear a tracksuit.
Was that the blonde with the what was that crazy haircut she had, or hairstyle? Not the beehive.
And no, that's Yeoman.
Yeoman. Oh yeah, Yeoman.
Yeah, what's her name? I don't remember. But the one where she's like a little girl, and Kirk's like, come on, don't cry now, Yeoman. Everything's gonna be okay.
I remember the story behind the design of her costume, because she wanted to show off her legs more, so they gave her a skirt because she was a dancer. That was her character.
Yeah.
She was a sexy blonde yeoman. It's like, what?
That's one of my. When I watch Star Trek, it's really, to be like Major League, you get to look at women. It's pretty awesome how often they actually have sexy women in that show. And you're like, I thought this was the family-friendly civics show for the 1960s. Like, nope, sometimes they go to Spa Planet where everybody has a spray tan. It's like fun for both sexes.
They have quite literally a sex planet called Riser, and if you hold up a totem, that means that you're looking for sex. Which means the locals are going to come and have sex with you.
It's funny when that sounds like some parties in the Tenderloin in San Francisco. Anyway.
Oh, here's a super chat from Taker610. Amaler and Rags hated Mandalorian. Did you guys like it? I haven't watched it, so I don't know.
So I need to be I'll be brutally honest about the way that I go about these things, because I know a lot of people, like, when they're going to criticize something, they watch this thing, they analyze it, they may watch it a couple times and take notes and all that stuff. I couldn't get past episode 4 of The Mandalorian. I quit. That's my opinion. It was whatever it was. If it was bad, it was boring, it was illogical, all of the above. That episode where Gina Carano and Mandalorian go to that planet where everybody's just like kumbaya-ing in the campgrounds. I felt like I was watching a different show.
One of the worst episodes.
I know what I was doing there.
So the way I saw The Mandalorian is it's a lot more Star Wars than the sequel trilogy, and it's one of the most Star Wars things which has been produced up until that point it was released, and it goes from good to mediocre a lot of points. It's never absolutely fantastic, but it's a lot more. It's one of the better Star Wars experiences you're going to find, other than going back and watching the original trilogy or watching Clone Wars. No, I don't hate it. I don't have any negative feelings towards it. I just feel some parts are good, some parts are meh. And unfortunately, you have to get past the meh parts, and there's a lot of filler episodes for an overarching story. So many filler episodes that really didn't need to be there at all.
All right, guys, I think we're done with this video. Thanks for tuning in. I'm glad you're all here. We have finally gotten a schedule going, so whenever we vote on a video, the second most voted gets on top of the schedule for the next, and then we just keep going. So, which technically means we will be going through the entire list, unless I'll actually try and watch the video at first hand that we vote on, whether it's going to be good or bad, or it's just going to be a long stretch of nothing. I think we had a few Steve Shives videos which were like that. They were just so long, and nothing is being said for half of them. So, but yeah, we've got schedules. We've got people who voted on stuff, so hopefully they'll show up, and we'll work around their schedule so we can watch together. So keep those suggestions coming. We'll eventually get to your ideas. And if they're blog posts, I'll be happy to cover them myself. So thanks for tuning in. If you have any more suggestions, please do join the Discord. Put them in the suggestions section. And that's the best way I can organize your ideas. So thanks for everyone for tuning in. I don't know what's happening tomorrow, the day after. Maybe we'll have some D&D. I don't know what's going on in the morning with Morning Nonsense. But
well, we were supposed to have D&D yesterday. Then no one was available. Then we were supposed to have D&D today. And we did this.
I know. But we're still up for it whenever you guys are ready. But thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you real soon. Have yourself a great day, okay?